Bhagavatam, Srila Narada Muni talks to Srila Vyasadeva, and he says to him that if a person at immature stage takes the path of bhajan and he falls down from that position, there's no faults in that.
Chaktva swadharmam charnam bhajam hare bhajan apaktota patetyato yadi yatra kvava padram abudam sukhim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha.
Yes, I think I know. And
you should learn it.
Yes. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, or I don't know if it's actually, I think it's written there. There, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says to Raghunath Goswami that he should continue outwardly as he does, but try to establish Nishta in himself. So it seems contradictory now. Can you please explain?
Yes. So you understand the question. Mohan Prabhu is comparing two instructions. The instructions of Narada to Vyasadeva in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Raghunath Das Goswami before he had left his home. So first of all, Narada Rishi is saying, Chaktva sadharmam charnam bhajam Pare bhajan apaktva na patet yato yadi yatra kvava badram abudam sukhim kovarta apto bhajatam swadharmataha. Those who don't follow the Vedic culture, Dharma, they don't follow Dharma, religious principles, which gradually elevate the soul to sattva gun, then for sure they will commit the adharma, sins. Adharma simply means the crimes against nature. They act against nature, that is God's nature. The purpose that God has invested every object with, they're misusing the objects, and in this way they're not progressing towards the higher consciousness, they're going down. So those who neglect Dharma, they must do adharma. Therefore, in a virtuous Vedic society, everyone said, they observed the Vedic instruction. Satyam bada dharmachara. Tell the truth. Follow religious principles. Kamani vadikaraste na palechu kadat, as Krishna said, you have the right to perform your dharma, your karmic activities, according to your position in this world. So, this is the standard in the regular Vedic, Dharmic, religious society. But what Narada Rishi is saying is that this Dharma is the Dharma of the body and mind. It is not the Dharma of Atma, the soul. So it is not, though it is a Dharma, one type of occupational duty, it is for those who are somewhat in ignorance and identifying with the body, to save them from going down into more and more sinful life and suffering. But the purpose of Dharma is to come to Sattva Gun. The purpose of Sattva Gun is to develop vivek, discrimination between matter and spirit, to know I am not this body. Then a question will come, but what's the Dharma of my Atma? What's the true occupation, spiritual occupation, which is eternal of my soul? So Narada Muni is saying, if a person gives up the worldly Dharma in order to do bhajan to Krishna, it sometimes happens that they are not mature, their renunciation is not mature. So, Chaktva satanamam charnam bhajam hare bhajan apakwa. They're apakwa, they're not paka, they're not ripe yet. Patet yato yadi. If they, due to not being ripe, they fall down then yatra kwa va bhadrama abhudamusyakim. What inauspiciousness will come to them? If someone is following the material dharma and they do adharma, they'll have a very heavy reaction. They'll have to perform prayaschitta, atonement, in order to try to become free from that reaction. But for those on the path of bhakti, if the devotee makes a mistake, Krishna himself will clean their heart. So here he said, if he falls down, doesn't mean that he falls down again and again and again deliberately. It means if katanchit, if by some mistake, some very strong samskar, that he makes some mistake, but then again he tries to apply himself in the path of bhakti, then Krishna will save him and gradually make him become a pure devotee. On the other hand, yatra kwa vabadam abud amushakim ko varta apto bhajatam swadharmata. He said, what benefit is there if one perfectly follows his dharma? What benefit is there? Because if one only perfectly follows his dharma and rises up to a high level of a sattva guna, but he doesn't take up bhajan, in other words, his soul never becomes activated in its natural occupation towards God, but rather the soul is still not engaged in the spiritual dharma. Only the body is going on in its dharma. Because in this material world, the sattva guna is never completely pure. So that person, he may go up to a higher planet, to Swargalok, to heaven, and then enjoy there. And when his party runs out, then he'll come back down again. And then he may go down really far. He may wander in the samsara chakra, the cycle of birth and death, up to heaven, back to earth and down to hell, and suffer then, come back to earth and then back to heaven, wandering around like this. So ultimately there's no permanent benefit. So in that verse, Narad Muni is weighing up two things. You do your worldly dharma perfectly because it's not the action of the soul, then you get no eternal benefit. And bhakti is so wonderful, even if you do bhakti imperfectly. And one falls down, has some problem, anything, but still bhakti is pragalbha. It's very aggressive. It's very bold. So if you engage in, if you keep going in bhakti, once the sins will be destroyed, then once papa beach, the seed of sin, that is in the form of the samskars, impressions, that will be destroyed, and ultimately avidya, all ignorance will be destroyed, and in the end, that person will attain perfection. So Narad Rishi is comparing these two things, because in the Vedas, Srila Vyasadeva has written so much about Dharma and Karma Kanda, performing ritualistic fruitive activities and so on. And Narad Rishi is telling him, Jo gupsitam dhamma kritanu shashata Swabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha. Oh Vyas, what have you done? You have made a great transgression. You have described Dharma, but this Dharma is contemptible. So it's quite incredible. The moral system of a person who is averse to God, they have not developed devotion. Their highest morality is contemptible in comparison to bhakti. It's virtuous compared to sins from the relative viewpoint of this world. But compared to the eternal absolute reality, it is nothing. Like Jesus Christ said, all of your good works are like dirty rags before the eyes of God. In the Bible it's written. All your good works are just like dirty rags before the eyes of God. People cannot understand it. Because they didn't listen to Narada Muni. Narad Rishi is explaining it exactly, perfectly. See, Tulsidas in Ramcharitmanas also, he's said a very beautiful poem. My Gurudev used to quote. Chajo pita pralada vibhishana bandho mahatari Guru bali chajo kantabana prajabanita vajaga mangalakari. The Vedas say follow Dharma. That means you should serve your parents. You should serve your Guru. That means in this context the family Kula Guru who's teaching you about karma. The wives should serve their husbands. The younger brothers should honor their elder brothers. So all of these instructions of Dharma are being written. But Tulsidasji, he is saying, Chajo Pita Prahlad Maharaj gave up his father. Hiranyakashipu. He was very powerful, he was the king of the universe. But Prahlad gave up his father. What is this? It's against Vedic Dharma. Chajo Pita Prahlada Vibhishana Bandho. Vibhishan. He gave up his brother. Who was his brother? Ravan. Chajo Pita Prahlada Vibhishana Bandho Bharat Mahatari. You should serve your mother. What about Bharat, Lord Ram's brother? His mother is Kaikeyi. He said, I will never use even the word mother in relation to her ever again. Why? Because she was the one who demanded the benediction from Dasaratha Maharaj that Lord Ram will have to go to the forest. So, Jinke Priya Narama Videhi Chajo Koti Vairi Sam Yadyapi Paramasnahe. Tulsidasji is saying, if someone does not have love for Sita Ram, even if they have love for you, someone loves you full of affection, but they don't love Sita Ram, then give up that person as if they are like 10 million deadly enemies. So Bharat gave up his mother because she did, apparently, outwardly, she did something against Lord Ram. So Chajo Pita Prahlada Vibhishana Bandho Bharat Mahatari Guru Bali Chajo. One should never give up his Guru. But what did Bali Maharaj do? Shukracharya. Who is the Shukra Acharya? Shukra means semen. Is a seminal line of gurus. Not actual Sadguru Parampara, but by birth. So Shukracharya, he was the guru of the demons, only teaching them how to do the rituals and astrology and all of these things so that you can enjoy the material world. So when the Supreme Lord came in the form of Bamandev and said, oh please give me 3 steps of land, then his guru said, don't give him anything. This Brahmin boy is Vishnu in disguise. Don't give anything to Vishnu. So then Guru Bali Chajo, Bali Maharaj, he gave up his guru because he was unfavorable to pure bhakti. Guru is a pure devotee, one should never give up guru. But if the guru is in only karma, gyan, ashtanga yoga and worldly things related to the body, and he is vimukh, he is against Krishna, or even if he is not against Krishna, but he is Vaishnava Vidveshi, he is envious of other devotees or other gurus, then Shastra said that one should give up that person. Gurupal Chajo Kanta Brajabanita, Dharma said the wife should serve the husband, but the Braj Gopis, they left their husbands. And they went into the forest of Vrindavan, called by the flute of Sri Krishna. So Bhajaga Mangalakari, and it made auspiciousness for the whole world. So what Tulsidas Ji is saying here in Ramcharitmanas and what Narad Rishi is saying in Bhagavatam is the same thing. It's auspicious from a relative point of view to follow Dharma. But there's no inauspiciousness even from leaving all Dharma in order to perform Bhakti. But leaving Dharma to perform Bhakti does not mean you have a license to do adharma. Because one who is absorbed in Bhakti automatically avoids adharma just by his nature. So this is one instruction. Now the instruction of Mahaprabhu to Raghunath Das Goswami. Antari kori nishta bahi loke vyavaha achirati Krishna tomai koribe uda. Raghunath Das Goswami kept trying to run away from home. But he was not mature yet in Bhakti. So the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, you stay in your home and you practice Bhakti there. Raghunath Das has a very qualified guru. Who? Jadunandanacharya. Jadunandanacharya is living there nearby. And he's associating with him and hearing from him and taking his guidance. Srila Haridas Thakur used to come there also. And other pure devotees. Advaita Acharya. So he had good association, and for that time in his life he was just take good association and cultivate your bhakti inwardly, and when your nishta comes, Krishna himself will arrange for you to come out of that restricting situation, and so that he could come and then stay with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai, Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, and all the great devotees in Jagannath Puri. So here one is to show that Bhakti is Sanatan Dharma, and ordinary Dharma is Anitya Dharma, temporary. Bhakti is the Swarup Anubandhi, related to the nature of the soul, not to the body. Whereas ordinary Dharma is related to the body. This is what the point that Narad is making. And Mahaprabhu is making this point, that if someone will try to renounce when they are immature, they may have many problems. So for that particular person, in that situation, he has good association and everything. He should follow this and become more mature, and then Krishna will help him transition to the next stage in his spiritual life. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you.
Good question. You should all study Shastra very deeply, then such questions will come. Raghunath Das Goswami is observing the Loka Vyavahar, but he is not doing all the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma. Also, you should know. He is not performing 5 types of jagya to counteract the 5 types of pap and all these things that the householders have to do. So he is practicing bhakti, but just in that setting of with his family and with his family guru, who was a very qualified person. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.